When an emergency occurs at a mine, it is imperative that mine rescue teams be notified immediately and asked to respond to the affected mine. Speed of response is very important, and it is better to call out mine rescuers at the first sign of a problem. If delayed because of uncertainty, the delay may be critical to saving trapped miners. It's better to call teams out and have to send them home if the situation resolves itself than not to call them out
Pete, boy,
until
I'm sure
it's
glad
too late.
you're here. We've implemented our emergency evacuation plan. We've got some miners missing. It appears that we're going to need our rescue teams called out. If you would, go ahead and put them on notice, get them out here. We're probably going to need a couple of teams from our neighboring companies. Give them a briefing, let them know that we need their cooperation in this. We may even need to get some supplies from them. You got a checklist, that's listed in our emergency response plan. Get that checklist, use it as a guide. You know what arrangements to make?
Yes.
Okay, if you would, please go make those arrangements, and when you get those done, get back with me, let me know what's...
The coordinator begins calling his rescue team members because he has many plans to make, and it's best if he calls the captain or one of the other team members and has them call the rest of the team. That frees him up to start making other plans.
Bill, this is Pete. I need you to call out all of our guys on both teams, get them to the mine site as quick as you can. I need you to organize the rescue station, get your apparatus ready. We've got a problem underground. We've got people unaccounted for. I'll see you when you get here, but be preparing to go underground when you arrive.
The coordinator now begins to call other teams that are nearby.
This is Pete Smith over at Bevill number 1 mine. We've got a problem here, and we think we may have a fire. There are people that are still missing, and we need your mine rescue teams. We'll be coordinating the rescue activities at the rescue station here at the mine. Could you mobilize your teams and get them over here as soon as you can?
Since the operation may run into several days or even weeks, lodging for teams will be necessary. It's important to make lodging preparations early because lodging in small mining communities is often limited and rooms will not be available for long. The coordinator must have a good feel for teams that are nearby and may be able to go home to rest, and teams that will be responding from further away and will need lodging to rest. It is best to have more rooms contracted than may be necessary than not to have enough. At some events, rescue teams were required to stay at lodging several hours away from the mine because nearby hotels were previously booked by news media or others. This is unacceptable as the people doing the work need rest and time away while still being close enough to respond if necessary. It's important that the coordinator now begin preparing a work schedule for teams to respond. The schedule should be broken out by day and shift and by the number of teams working, serving as backup teams, and those preparing to work. Depending on the work anticipated, the coordinator will have to get a good feel for how many teams may be working at a time. He must take into consideration that for each team working, there will probably be a backup team in the fresh air base or nearby underground, and a second backup team on the surface. These arrangements need to be worked out with the command center so that the coordinator will know exactly how many teams will be needed for each team working. Teams can normally work an 8 to 9 hour shift, which would include 2 2-hour-long excursions under apparatus and serving as a backup team for 2 hours. These times are only a suggested rule of thumb and are not to be strictly adhered to. Times will vary based on the work to be done, the heat exposure, and other factors which affect the ability and stamina of the teams. The coordinator must also prepare for food and drinks for the teams. Liquids that are designed to replenish fluids are a must, and large amounts should be stockpiled. Fluids will need to be available in the rescue station, underground, at the fresh air base, and at other strategic areas where teams may be stationed or required to work. Team members will also need food while on site, and a variety of meals and energy snacks will be needed. The coordinator must also ensure that preparations are made for parts and recharging of apparatus. Ice will be needed for cooling chambers, canisters for charging, oxygen for replenishing oxygen bottles, and spare part for those needing replaced. The coordinator must contact suppliers and manufacturers' representatives to ensure that an adequate supply of materials is constantly on hand. Most rescue stations maintain only the minimum number of canisters, ice, and spare parts. These will not go very far in the event of a real emergency, so large supplies must be delivered and maintained. It's also very difficult for team members who have been working underground to come outside and bench their apparatus. Members will be tired and need rest and could be more prone to making mistakes while benching their machines. It will be important to have persons who are certified benchmen to be available to assist with preparing apparatus for reuse. The following depicts the work associated with benching an apparatus for use in an underground mine. The benchman will go through the proper steps of checking the function of the machine and identifying any problems that need to be corrected.
The team has brought their apparatus. We picked them up. We have them in our rescue station now. What we need to do now, we'll have to break this apparatus all the way apart, have it ready to wash, dry, reassemble, and bench before the unit will be ready to go back underground again. This apparatus is fully assembled and ready for testing. This apparatus is ready to be tested on the RZ25 test machine. This apparatus is ready for use. All the end user needs to do is add ice and to defog.